Hey guys, welcome back to the I Am Avery podcast, and I'm your host. I am Avery. Today I have a special guest, Carley Weissart, and she is a woman's life coach. So I'm going to give her the reins to introduce herself.
Hi. So yes, my name is Carley. I work with women primarily focusing on like perfectionism, people pleasing, good girl conditioning, breaking through those sorts of patterns that so often keep us like small and timid and not saying the thing, not using our voices, and just building up a lot of, at least in my experience, like resentment about not being able to be my true self in the world. So that's what I do for work. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm a mom. I've got two little girls. They're 6 and 8. And I've been coaching for about 2 years now or so.
Oh, I love it. And as you guys know, I live in Boston, Massachusetts, as you can see from my background, usually. But today we're going to be talking about speaking your truth and saying the thing, and then plus what self-care and self-love really look like, because I know it's very hard to do. So I think I'm going to just start off with what made you learn this or go into life coaching?
I have always loved like personal development, self development, transformational kind of work.
Mm-hmm.
And I really dove kind of back into it all at the start, or right before the pandemic started, but then really dove in more when COVID was happening because
Mm.
wasn't a lot to be doing. So
Oh
working
yeah.
on myself there was lots of time for that. And I got so much from the programs I was in, the coaching I was receiving, because I was at that point in my life, I was feeling really stuck. There was kind of this whisper that I was hearing of like just something felt off, something was out of alignment, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, or at least I didn't think I could, but really deep down, I knew I just had to get some stuff out of the way. And
Mhm.
through all of the work that I was doing, I actually ended up leaving my marriage.
Mhm.
And it's been almost 3 years now since that has happened. And it was obviously a huge shift in my life. And I wouldn't have been able to do it had it not been for the coaching, the programs, and the other women that I was connecting with, the communities that I was a part of. So because I had gotten so much from all of this that was taught to me and poured into me, I wanted to kind of pay it forward and start to coach myself and help other women through their own struggles.
Yeah, and I love that. I really try to pick guests based off what I think could be really I don't know, what my viewers could really, what do you call it? Feel I don't know. I'm always
Like
chasing
relate
words.
to?
Yes,
Yeah.
my brain's off sometimes. Because for
Okay.
me, my viewers are all over the place, but I target teens and young adults with, again, my age. But I have viewers all around, and I already know what it feels like at this age to be stuck and not loving yourself and trying to figure out what the next step is. So I love doing this, and I love having people on. And yeah, things can really take a turn for the worst, but sometimes it ends up being good in the end. Um, so let's just start with speaking your truth and saying the thing. I think that is my not actually, I don't think I have an issue with that. I think that's what people have an issue with me, is that I do that, and that makes them have an issue with me because I
Hmm.
do that.
Yes. No, I love that though. And it is for the few, because I do, it's a you're in the minority. It's amazing, but it's not the most common experience we have as humans to just freely speak our truth, say the thing. And when we do come across people who are right with their truth
Mhm.
and they share it with the world, it can be very like unsettling. Like, wait, what? Who does she think she is? She's just
Mhm.
like saying what she feels, when in reality, all those feelings and stuff are coming up because we don't have permission for ourselves to speak the truth and say the thing. So it's you're a mirror for a lot of people, reflecting back to them something that they wish that they had. I would imagine. I can't speak for everybody, but I
Oh
would.
yes. I think I'd agree with that too. I mean, it took me a lot to learn this and be okay with speaking the truth. Because I'm very me, I'm very vibrant, I'm very loud, I just talk a lot. And none of those are bad things. Sometimes you just gotta know when to zip your lips. That's my issue. But I still get a lot of people who are applauding me for the ability to do that at my age. So,
Yes, I am will happily join ranks with those people. It's not a skill that I had at your age. And in fact, it's something
hmm
I still, it's still a practice for me to really
yeah.
put aside my people pleasing habits and all of
hmm
that conditioning and patterns that I've had for years and years and years of my life to just be like, no, I can share my truth. And that may disappoint other people or upset other people, but that's not my job to dim my light and not share my truth, to take care of other people's emotions. Because we're all grown-ups. We're all like sovereign beings and we can take care
Yeah.
of ourselves. That doesn't
hmm
mean that we don't have to have some responsibility with how we communicate, but
hmm
we don't need to not say what's really on our hearts and in our minds for the sake of other people.
Yeah. And I just, again, it took me a lot to learn that. I will always reiterate that. And it took losing my friend group and going through COVID, not getting depression, but like, again, COVID ruined a lot of things. But going through depression, anxiety, so much with COVID and just losing the friends and then looking for attention other places. It took maybe a year and a half ago, I finally figured out what was wrong and what I needed to switch up, and I'm much happier. Doesn't mean I'm cured or fixed, but it's just you really need to take a look into your life and see what you could be doing to help yourself and change the way you're living for yourself. Which I don't know. I think it's hard for some people.
Yeah, no, and it's very much, I love that mindset. And it sounds very much like you are in this place of like the creator of your life. You get to say how your life is going to go and what it's going to look
Yeah.
like. And the flip side of that is this like victim mentality where life is happening to you and things are coming for you and at you. And it's a
hmm
very disempowered place to live, right? It's not, you can't really, it's hard to have a lot of vibrancy and radiance and joy and a sense of power in your life if you think that you are not in control of it. And of
hmm
course, there are things outside of our control all the time that happen in our world.
Yeah.
COVID was a huge one, and other
hmm
people in our lives, like we can't control them, but we can control how we show up and the things that we say and how we speak to others and how we speak to ourselves. It kind
hmm
of goes into like the whole self-care thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
we are in control of ourselves at the end of the day. And
hmm
sometimes I think we forget that.
Yes, and we try to make it so we aren't because sometimes it's scary knowing that you lead yourself and you're the one who makes decisions for yourself and all that. Um, which yeah, I'm still learning. So, but I think we could go into maybe what does self-care look like?
Yeah, I think, well, so there's what self-care is kind of like shown out in the media, social media
hmm
outlets, lots of like bubble baths and having chocolate and spa days and all of these. And don't get me wrong, those things are all great. And it
Oh
is
yeah.
a form of self-care.
hmm
But it's so much more expansive than that. Because really, self-care, I mean, like speaking your truth and saying the thing is a form of self-care. It's honoring yourself and sharing that with the world.
hmm
Like upholding boundaries with other people is definitely a form of self-care. And even some things, I actually just sent an email out about this in my list, but some things that we typically don't think of as self-care, in fact, like would at first glance think it's totally the opposite of like doing the laundry or washing the dishes or like just taking care of
hmm
things around your house. In reality, it is self-care because it's allowing you to take care, you're taking care of you.
And
And
nurturing it. Yes.
yes, exactly. And you can always make those things more pleasurable, right? Like if you
hmm
like for me, laundry is like the bane of my existence. I absolutely hate laundry. But if I can put on like a podcast and listen while I fold it or some music
hmm
or like just setting a time container, like, okay, I'm gonna work on this for 20 minutes and then I'm done. Like
Yeah.
any of those things can help make these mundane or like just not pleasurable tasks more fun. And
Hmm.
it's a good way to take care of yourself because those things take up mental space and mental clutter and their energy leaks. So if you can just keep closing those loops, then you have more energy to actually pour back into yourself and into the things that do bring you lots of joy and fun and fulfillment in your life.
Oh, yes. And that's what I love to see on social media too, is when people bring those things up for self-care. I'm a very big Instagram, what do you call it? Big Instagram reposter with all these posts. Because if I see something that is so true, I'm gonna be like, yes, that. And I have lost followers because of that, because they don't like to see the truth. And that's okay. I mean, I'm not ever going to be like, you unfollowed me, blah, 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 because they're just shows they're not ready for, I don't know, being okay with that, I guess. Um, but I love cleaning and organizing. And yes, people are like, that's weird. And I'm like, it's my ADHD part of my brain that likes the control of it.
Mhm.
And for me, that is self-care because it nurtures something in me that makes me feel in control, but not bad in control, but in
Mhm.
control of myself and my emotions. And just, I don't know, making me feel good. And yeah, as I said, everyone thinks it's weird, but you do you at this point. Honestly, you do you in your life and the rest will come. But I think, yeah, people don't realize that, like what you said. And once they do realize it, I feel like big changes can even happen then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's huge. And I'm very much the same way. I hate to like clean, but I like to organize.
Yes.
And for me, a lot of it is like my environment really affects my mood and my energy. So like is the actual task of like putting the laundry away, doing the dishes, whatever, is that thing super fun for me? No, but I love the result that I get and the way it makes me feel when I'm done.
Mhm.
And then I just don't feel as drained or distracted. And I can again like put energy and attention onto those really important things.
Mhm.
And like you said too, like, you do you, like it's when you are honoring your truth or speaking your truth, like if you're really in it, you're going to attract people and you're going to repel people. If everybody,
Mhm.
if how you are showing up in the world, everyone in your sphere like likes you, you're probably not actually showing up as your true self because when you
Yep.
are, you're gonna find your tribe and you're gonna repel people too, and that's okay. And I think that's something, especially at your age, I was very scared to do. I wanted
Mhm.
everyone to like me, and as I continued down that path, eventually I got to this place of like, wait, everybody doesn't even like me. They like this person I created. It's not actually me. And as I've
Yes.
shed those layers,
Mhm.
I have lost people too, and my circle's gotten smaller, and that's okay because the people who are here are like just full blown cheerleaders, hype girls for
Mhm.
me, and they love all of me. And I would much rather have that than the people who only like the shiny, pretty parts that I
Oh,
present.
yes. And that again with losing my friends, that was the big issue for me is I I lost they were my friends since second grade. So they were all I knew.
Mhm.
And I was my person because of them. I was known because of them. And it wasn't a good thing later on, I realized. And again, like I said, I was seeking attention from other places that I shouldn't have been doing at that age, um, because of that. And it just it really, once I had the mindset change that I'm just going to be me and whatever people will like me if they want, if they don't, whatever. I think it literally like it happened and I was like, whoa, I feel okay with this. I'm lonely, but I'm okay being alone at this point. Like I always try to reach out to people and all this, but at this point, like I'm okay with being alone. I'm okay sitting in my bed and reading books. I'm okay doing my own thing, doing yard work by myself, just certain things. Like, of course, I'll want my tribe, but now I think for how I am and what I'm going through, I think the peacefulness is very good for me. And again, like I said, it took me a lot to know this, and it literally probably a year and a half ago. And as time went on, I learned more and more, but it's hard. And at this point, my biggest cheerleaders are like my parents, my family friends' parents, and everyone's like, that's so weird. And I'm like, no, it's not, because if I have these cheerleaders who are older than me, it shows how much I'm maturing and how much I am speaking my truth and being awesome. And again, people my age aren't going to like that because they're having issues with themselves. As I say, if someone's bullying you, that's not okay, but they're having their own issues. And I always try to help and I always try to do little things, but it's not always going to help. And sometimes you just have to let it go.
Yes, yeah, not taking other people's reactions, words, things like that personally,
Hmm.
and having it mean something about you is a huge practice. It's really difficult for people to do. And again, like I sometimes make meaning of things
Hmm.
and then I can catch myself in it now. Like, wait, well, actually, like they said this and I'm making it mean this.
Yep.
They're not
Mm,
necessarily the same thing, but it's
me.
so
Yep.
common. And so to be unattached to other people's opinions, thoughts, things like that can be challenging. And it really does require you to be really firmly rooted in who you are as a
Hmm.
human and really love that version of you at any given moment because we're always changing and evolving.
Yep. Exactly.
And to be in that place and really, again, like speaking your truth, knowing who you are and showing up unapologetically gives permission to other people to do it too, which is
Hmm.
so huge. And we need more of that in the world. Like you just being you is such a gift. Like it's medicine in the world. And the more people that do that, then it's a ripple effect, right? And then more and more people will do it. And then we've got
Yep.
this, it's very idealistic, but it keeps bubbling out. And then we've got this
Yep.
whole world of like just
Yep.
express aligned humans. And I think that's what we need more of is just people
Hmm.
being themselves.
And that's what this one thing my parents, or mostly my mom has always said, and I now take it, is be the leader, not the follower. Because you just becoming the leader in a good way just shows good stuff, I think. I don't really know how to explain it, but I really love that saying now. And there's this thing, it's from I forget, it's this show, but it's like you kill more bees with honey. Um,
Hmm.
and again, it's like to always be like nice to the people who are not being good to you. Because again, something's going on, but it makes you feel better. So I think we could go into like self-love, and I feel like people think self-care and self-love are two of the same things, but it's really not. Because I feel like I don't know, you can probably explain it better.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely connected, right? And I think
Yeah.
for like the amount of self-care that you pour into yourself is reflective of the amount of self-love that you have for yourself. Like if you have deep self-love, then of course you want to participate in self-care tasks and have your
Yeah.
practices and rituals and routines and all of that. Um, so, and I also think it's almost like it can be a bit of a chicken and the egg kind of thing of like, well, which one comes first? Because the more you pour into yourself, I think it develops and deepens that self-love.
Mhm.
And yet you need to have the self-love to want to participate in the self-care. So they're intertwined. But yeah, and I think self-love too, it can take a lot of different forms. It can ebb and flow. Like we're all human and we're different from one day to the next. And
Mhm.
so it's not this consistent thing. And that's something that's been really big for me to learn is that, okay, I'm cultivating this love for myself
Mhm.
and who I am exactly as I am. And some days it's going to be harder for me to tap into it and feel it. And that's okay. It's not this linear like journey. It's very up and down and swirly and backwards. And then especially as women with our hormones and our cycle,
Yes.
that also has plays a huge role in how we feel about
Oh,
ourselves on any
yes.
given day. But
Hmm.
having all that information is so powerful because I know when I'm having like I'm having a day where I'm just feeling down on myself and
Hmm.
just knowing like, okay, like being able to zoom out and look at like what's going on, like this
Hmm.
isn't how I normally feel. And also being really rooted in like it's temporary. Everything is temporary. The good, the bad, the ugly, it's all temporary. Nothing lasts forever. And that
Hmm.
is something that's really helpful for me to hold on to in any given moment, honestly, because it keeps you really present.
Oh, yes. And I don't know, I just think you said it perfectly. So, because it's hard as life is, and I don't know, I like what you said at the end that I totally blanking, but I just love what you said. But I think we could go into like what are some small steps we can take to start our journey into self-care and self-love?
Such a good question. I mean, I think something that is really simple. And well, it's very simple. It's not necessarily easy, but it's simple. Is putting attention on your self-talk and how you talk to yourself and that little voice and the dialogue that you've got going on in between your ears, and just noticing how you talk to yourself. Like, are you hyping yourself up? Are you talking to yourself like you would a best friend? Or are you picking every little thing you do apart and just being super negative and nasty with yourself? And unfortunately, like the negative self-talk is really rampant. And
Mhm.
I mean, I can only speak from my own experience, but I really struggled with it for years of my life. And it took a lot of work to flip the script with that for me. And some things that helped me do that were, as like cliche as they may sound, is like affirmations and putting
Yeah.
things like on mirrors, or like you can find them on YouTube and listen to things
Yes.
and stuff. It's very easy to get your hands on other people's affirmations, or to just sit down
Hmm.
and come up with a list of yourself that really resonate with you. But
Yeah.
affirmations are really, really powerful, and something that helped me with my self-talk as well. When I really started to actively work on it, at first, when I was first paying attention to it,
Hmm.
I would get really, it was like, it's funny looking back now, but like I would get down on myself about having bad self-talk and negative
Yeah.
self-talk. It would be this like downward spiral. And when I, instead of making myself wrong for that, when I
Mhm.
started to shift and be like, okay, well, how can we reframe this? Just like talking to myself in a gentler, kinder way, even about the negative self-talk things, instead of being like, oh,
Mhm.
you shouldn't talk to yourself that way. We should be kinder to ourselves, like all of this, and just be like, okay, well, where's that coming from? Or
Yeah.
why are we feeling this way? Like kind of shifting from accusatory
Hmm.
to curious,
Yes.
also been used. And it's funny, even talking about this, like it sounds crazy of like having all these conversations and all these
Yeah.
voices, but it's just how we are as humans. There's a lot
Hmm.
going on up there for most of us. And it's important to make sure that what's happening up there is positive and gentle and kind, because how you speak to yourself is one of the most important things.
Oh, yes. And I agree with that because even just when you recognize that you're not, your self-talk is bad, again, like taking the good out of it and be like, what can I do to better this? And what can I do to help myself better instead of, again, continuing the cycle of being negative. So yeah, I like all of that. And I don't like making these so lengthy, but then I get talking and I'm blah 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 blah. I'm very much Avery, I'm my mother, as my everyone around me would say. But yeah, I love that all. And I think everyone can learn from that. And I think it's a good thing to have in life, no matter where you are in life. You could be a teenager, you could be a young adult, an adult. I don't know how to say it. Like you could be any age to be able to do this and change the way you see yourself. So,
Yeah. Yeah, it goes right back to like being the creator of your own life.
mhm.
Like it really starts inside your head with how you're talking to yourself, and can shift and shape everything else.
And I agree. And I think that's an awesome way to end this. And I think we're gonna also have another episode. So
I'm
I
excited.
know I loved this, and I know that I feel like this is just very me, and I think other people will appreciate this. So yeah, and do you want to tell us your Instagram?
Yeah, sure. So it's just my name. It's at Carley Weissart. I can spell it. It's C.
I'm gonna put it out on the
Okay,
screen too.
perfect. I was gonna say, because it's Weissert's a mouthful, and I spell my first name a little differently. But yeah, it's
Oh.
just my name on Instagram, and that's the same. I have a website. It's my www.carleyweissert.com.
Mhm. Easy
And
peasy.
on my Instagram, in the the link tree bio. There are some freebies and things in there that you can download and stuff too.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. This was wonderful.
Okay, thanks so much. If you have a chance, if you could please like and give us some comments or messages, we'd love that. Thanks so much for watching. Okay, how do I stop my recording? Pause. Stop.